Hello and welcome to today's program, which takes place on a very momentous occasion, on a very momentous weekend, at a very momentous time in St. Lucia's history when our legacy is being inscribed internationally, and certainly at a time when everybody the world over wants to know where is St. Lucia. Thanks to Julian Alfred, who has achieved the magnificent feat of bringing home 2 Olympic medals. This weekend, there will be another momentous occasion in the Roseau Valley, where and when a book, the first book on the history of Roseau Valley, the stories of Roseau Valley, will be launched. And today's discussion will feature 3 of the authors, and they will be telling us from whence this project cometh, from the standpoint that it didn't just come overnight. Quite a lot of work went into it, so we will be examining that and hoping that by the end of our discussion we will not only have encouraged you to want to buy and read this book, whether online or directly, but also to encourage other communities to follow the example of Roseau, where Jean Roseau have come together to tell their story and to share it with the rest of St. Lucia and the world in ways that have never been done before. Alors, merci pour venir joindre nous aujourd'hui pour rester avec nous à ce programme. Ça à côté nous qu'a célébrer des grands affaires qui qu'a fait cette lycée pour week-end. Première, c'est côté nous qu'a ni launch pour un livre à Roseau Valley Roseau qui est écrit par Jean Roseau pour cette lycée, avec cette lycéen tout partout au Lyon la terre, avec pour tout le monde au Lyon la terre venir plus connaître cette lycée, avec qui position Roseau joué en l'histoire de cette lycée. Et aussi week-end ça là, jour après, ça qu'a fait dans un contexte côté jour après le dimanche, qui joue côté une dernière cérémonie pour jouer olympique qui a fait en France avec là cette lycée avec relaté à encore Nizio à sous Julian Alfred avec à sous cette lycée. Alors restez avec nous ni 3 à danser mon qui écrit livre là avec yokai dit nous qui manière nous arriver côté nous avec côté nous voulons aller avec un projet ça là. Alors let's introduce the authors. The authors with us are Primus Hutchinson, known to all, or most, as a veteran journalist, bilingual journalist, but with a specification in our Creole. We also have with us Stanislas Albert, another of the authors, and we have with us Patrice Lionel, who is an author, but quite much more than that in relation to her contribution to ensuring that this project came off it. Other authors who are not with us include Margaret Lubrin Aoki, who is, as we speak, in Japan, Mr. Francis Leonce, who we will hear about during the discussion, Father Lambert Saint-Rose, and Mr. Brian Ogis. It's a 185-page document in which the stories of Roseau are told in 14 chapters, and as you will discover when you do get hold of one of them, it is produced by the Jaco Books and Roseau Valley Press, with the cover design by Brian Jones Francis. And let's start with Tresha Patricia, I said Tricia. Patricia Lionel. Patricia, tell us about this project, how it came about. I mean, it didn't just come out of a banana tree in the valleys. How did we get here? What was the idea behind producing a book, not about somebody, but about an entire community, not written by one person, but by the community itself through the voices of people who were born and lived there?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to my other panelists. This is a gem. I'm so proud that it is finally able to be shared with the world. In 2016, we were approached by the Folk Research Center, well, Monsignor Patrick Anthony Folk Research Center, and since we were given the task of one of the communities to undertake Juniquel celebrations, we were given a few tasks to do in line with the celebrations. And one of that was to come up with just a few pages of the history of the area that we were in. And at the time it was Jacmel. So it was focusing at the time on Jacmel. We enlisted the assistance of Mr. Hutchinson, who is a renowned journalist, so we're so grateful to have him on board. And he was able to delve deep into some of the research that he had already done from Juniquel in 1997, when that community last hosted. We started fine-tuning it. However, unfortunately, we were not able to produce that in time for the actual celebration on October 30th. But what we decided was to make this something bigger than what it already was. At the time, it was focusing on Warden, Monsizon, Jacmel. But we said, why not focus on the valley? Because the valley has so much rich stories and has a lot to offer. So that is when we decided to get some assistance from other members. Also, Margaret Lugren Aoki, who is currently in Japan, but she has quite a bit of knowledge as well. We also got the assistance of Mr. Francis Leo. So at the time, he had served at Winban and definitely has a grasp on the agricultural developments in the valley. So he was able to play an important role as well. And we also enlisted the support of Mr. Brian Oakist in terms of the education of the valley. So we were able to do that, and it has been 8 years in the making. It's been quite tumultuous. We had to go through so many different phases, as well as COVID-19, which about 2 to 3 years kind of put things on a go slow. But the aim was to never stop.
You did mention Lambert St. Rose, Father Lambert St. Rose.
Oh yes, thank you for that. And Father Lambert St. Rose, who at one time served as parish priest, the Church of the Holy Family in Jacmel. So we were able to get all these people together. Everyone was able to do their part on certain aspects that they were familiar with. And we started working on a manuscript. Like I said, it's been 8 years in the making, and there have been ups, there have been downs. Some of the interviewees have passed on, but we remain grateful to them for giving us those stories that we can now pass on to other generations to come. So we're quite excited to present this book, and we're just happy to be here.
And in case you just joined us, we're discussing the launch on Saturday of the book Stories of Roseau Valley, St. Lucia, West Indies, and with us are 3 of the authors. And we can tell you, in terms of the contents, the book contains a foreword by Sir Calixte George, and we also have another by Canicia Lubrin about the valley of Roseau. We also have the chapters on the historical perspective on the valley from Primus Hutchinson, reminiscence from Primus Hutchinson, a social assessment of the Hollywood area in Roseau, again by Primus Hutchinson, culture, folklore, and recreation by Primus Hutchinson, the brief history of Warden and Monsizon, as Patricia just said, the Boisden, Jacmel senior citizens also spoke, and again they spoke too, and that chapter was collated by Primus Hutchinson, who also looked at, like I said, the Indo settlement of Mon Ciseaux. And with that said, we can also look at the fact that the last chapter looks at prominent personalities, again by Primus J. Hutchinson and Patricia Lionel. So at this point, where next do we go but to Primus Hutchinson? Sunshine travail, Primus. Il commençait en Jacmel avec Mon Ciseaux, avec il allait au Roseau Valley avec Zodia, nous avons Valley à de manière Chaimoun partait jamais ouais. Alors dis-nous qui manière nous sorti Jacmel avec Mon Ciseaux pour arriver Roseau Valley à un livre 185 pages.
Merci Earl, merci tout le monde qui a veillé avec à côté, veillé particulièrement à la discussion d'aujourd'hui. Moi, je vais une petite blague avant, ou des questions. Moi, je dis, avant le monter ici, si moi qui ai des questions, je dis, moi, je vais comment sur l'autre façade là, qui me demande ça, ménager ça. Oui, le Patrice est invité moi pour t'aider à travailler ça là. Moi, c'est et qui dit moi nous t'aider pour écrire tout la vie bagaille concernant le développement Boisden Jacmel et nous acide et nous commencer à faire ça et nous commencer à accorder dans chaque autre information et ça nécessaire et nous va quitter ça de alors Patrice a décidé à nous garder ça nous ça fait alors les nous acides nous dit non nous n'avons pas ça faire tout travail ça nous avons besoin d'assistance tout le monde puisque Father Saint Rose il était prêtre de la paroisse et qui connaît un peu sur le développement de l'église là nous tenons M. Brian Auguste qui était aussi mais toute l'école a une transformation qui était très important alors nous demandons pour assister mettre l'école et Monsieur Francis Léos qui était Winburn, et moi dis ça c'est un monsieur qui a aidé nous là pour le développement agricole et nous créer madame mademoiselle Lionel avec Margaret et comme ça qui jeunesse oui c'est jeunesse là qui connaît toute l'histoire ce développement jeunesse là et nous commençons à travailler sur ça à chaque sacrifice à chaque marché les dimanches, les samedis, tout le monde a posé, nous sommes là, nous des questions, nous interview avec comme ça. De là, nous sommes restés derrière, travailler ici, GIS, GIS et Radio 7 aussi, rester derrière, parce que je n'ai pas tenu un computer qui travaille à Caille. Moi, je suis resté derrière, travailler. Ça, pour commencer à écrire. Overtime, oui. Mais nous essayons, nous réussissons, nous commençons à écrire. Et quand nous avons écrit, quand nous avons quitté l'autre monde, regarder, avec les autres, qui ont dit non, changez ça.
Avant d'aller plus loin, nous supposons qu'on a à présent, là nous allons continuer avec nous aller au-dessus de l'autre présentation aujourd'hui. Nous avons à ce programme à côté de promoter launch Limsala Stories of Roseau Valley, which will be launched on Saturday at the St. Lucia Distillers compound from 3 p.m. We'll be right back.
No development is possible without change, and St. Lucia is developing. We are moving on up. That is why we are ready to leave the Privy Council behind and put all our trust in the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ. Why CCJ? If you had the choice to pay an exorbitant amount of money to seek justice from the Privy Council or to go to the CCJ, where it's more affordable and where they could better understand your culture, your values and beliefs, because we are all one people in the Caribbean, which would you choose? Exactly. CCJ belongs to all of us.
Welcome back to our discussion on the launch of this book, The Stories of Roseau Valley, on Saturday at the St. Lucia Distillers Compound in Roseau. And we've heard from Patricia Lionel and Primus Hutchinson on how we got to where we are. In this, the second half, we want to move on to where we're going from here. Alors, Primus, nous savons qui ça qui a fait demain, avec pour nous ça, Monsieur Albert pour faire une contribution, avec pour nous ça, mettre tout bagaille dans une bonne perspective by tout le monde.
Ok, ça qui a fait, c'est samedi, si vous voulez. Nous avons une cérémonie pour présenter le livre là officiellement à Condi, St. Lucia Distillers, à la cour. Et nous avons une grande présentation côté monde comme Calix. Et les autres, nous avons un officier gouvernement aussi, FRC, chaque diverses organisations, avec monde qui nous invité, monde qui la famille, eux même engagé à livre l'histoire livre là. Nous avons ça nous avons ça face au public côté monde qui ça ouais les télévisions, les YouTube, et Facebook, et ça c'est assistance DVD qui a fait nous sans nous payer des sous. Nous avons les autres médias qui là ça quand un beau cérémonie côté chaque go les autres qui présent pour ça nous support pour qui un grand développement qu'on s'est fait en vallée Roseau et pour mener à chaque croyance importance pour le développement vallée Roseau. Alors c'est ça qui a fait pour jouer et pour même là
oui. Also with us today is another of the 7 authors of this book, and I'm speaking of Mr. Stanislas Albert, who has been with the project from start and contributed significantly to where we are today. Mr. Albert, how do you feel about being part of this unique project, which our 2 previous presenters have pointed out, didn't just come out of the blue, and it isn't just a book written by one person about everybody else, but a book written by everybody about us all, insofar as Jean Roseau is concerned?
Okay, well, first I must say that I'm very much elated about the stories of Roseau Valley being out now. Wanting to become an author has always been a dream of mine, but it so happened that I happened to be at the time on the committee organizing the Journée Creole. When Patrice mentioned to me that there was a booklet to be prepared, I was very much elated about working on it. But during the course of the time, the information that we gathered, like both of them have said before, became much more than a booklet. And whilst I think I might take this opportunity to thank Primus for doing some of what I was supposed to have done. Because the part of the Hindu development at Monsiso was supposed to have been my responsibility. But because I hold so many caps in the community, at that moment when we were doing the research, Primus had to take on the Monsiso part of it. So again, thank you, Primus. But telling the story of the Roseau Valley, I think, is very, very much important, because I am one who strongly believe that over the years that Roseau Valley, the way that Roseau Valley has been looked upon, I am pretty much certain that this book will make a difference and allow persons to view Roseau Valley in a different light. Because before we were viewed as Jean Roseau, Negmaon, the slaves running away. But telling the story of what the Roseau Valley is and was, people will understand where we came from, where we have been, and where we are now.
and also from that where we are heading to, because the entire project is aimed at not just producing a book for sale, which is the ultimate objective, and Patrice will be letting us know how we could get it online and offline. But also the intent is to encourage other communities to see the value of us writing our own story, because until we write our own story, it will be written for us by others. And until other communities in St. Lucia recognize the importance of writing our own story, we will continue to promote the following of the example of Roseau. I wrote a postscript in the book, one of several other persons, including John Robert Lee and Dr. Anderson Reynolds, and in my postscript I said, the Roseau story is worth more than just reading, as it's also a crystal clear example of a community watching itself in the mirror and telling the world not just what it sees, but from whence it cometh, where it's been hence, and inviting you to ponder on whither its future. The story of Roseau Valley is worth every sentence, paragraph, and chapter. And certainly nous pas ni fait livre ça là pour moun ça écrit li avec oublié, ben li avec mettez à sous en shelf. Non, ça c'est pour ou ça comprendre qui rôle Roseau joué en l'histoire cette Lucien, avec l'histoire ça là, c'est pas l'histoire qui moun vini cité ben Jean l'autre pays écrit, mais c'est Jean Roseau même qui a dit nous côté yo sorti, côté Roseau y aujourd'hui, avec côté nous ka voulait aller. Alors nous ka demandé Patrice pour dire nous qui d'autres plans nous ni pour livre là. Est-ce nous comment dire nous ka joindre avec qui ça nous ka ça fait, mais nous sommes plus dans mais pas trop long.
We go over to Patrice. She did indicate and Stan spoke to this, the challenges that we face. And we wanted to emphasize the importance of the many challenges and so on. And I think Patrice will speak to this. But the manuscript itself, I think we wrote about 10 or 11 manuscripts, rewriting and so on, and of course you'll emphasize on this, and so the challenges, the hurdles, COVID.
We overcome all of them and we win the gold.
Yes, so I see.
Yeah. We win the gold. We are both the gold and the silver head.
Very much so.
So Patrice, take us, tell us what next. Is there any intent? How do you intend to share the knowledge of the book to share it with others at home and abroad, and how do St. Lucians abroad, an increasing number of whom want to know the story of St. Lucia, an increasing number of persons in the diaspora are requesting and trying to find out where they could find books on St. Lucia. Unfortunately, the only bookshops left in St. Lucia are for school books. So tell us how we could get the stories of Roseau Valley online and offline.
Yes, so what next for Roseau Valley? One of the main goals that we actually have for this book is to ensure that everyone within the valley, or with connections to the valley, has a copy of it. We want to ensure that persons know about where they're coming from. Part of that can assist you with where you're going. And what we plan to do is to meet with certain institutions, for instance, the libraries, as well as the various schools in the valley, and probably across St. Lucia as well, but that will come at different times in the future. But we want to meet with them. Of course, we will be handing out some copies to them, and to also encourage them to buy the books, and to encourage their students and the parents to buy the books. We will also be meeting with other institutions, for instance, Folk Research Center, which is pivotal in the culture of St. Lucia, the National Archives, and also the Central Library. We will be having the book on sale for sure. You can get it at the Folk Research Center to be on sale for $50. Other bookstores, we will publicize this information in the future. Look out for it. For now, you can get the book on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon and you type Stories of Roseau Valley, it will pop up. It's $17.95 US. But in St. Lucia, it will be sold at $50.
And on the day of the launch?
Certainly. How can we forget the launch day on Saturday from 3 p.m. We'll be launching at the St. Lucia Distillers compound. The book will be discounted on that day actually for $40. So you will be able to, definitely $40 EC, you will be able to purchase a copy of the book on that day. You can also contact any of the members here and we can arrange pickup or delivery. My number is 520-4188. You can contact me and we can arrange pickup.
And certainly we cannot end without, in the next 4 minutes, we cannot end without paying tribute to and by way of acknowledgement of the long and silent contribution made by Mr. Francis Leonce. Yes. Primus and others have referred to him being a figure at Winban. 2/3 of St. Lucians born after 1979 might not know what Winban is or was. It was certainly the Windward Islands banana research body based in Roseau, from where the 4 Windward Islands, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and Grenada's banana industries had to and were benefiting from the research being done in that area. The area is also important for the starting of a project called the Model Farms Project, which is also covered in the book, which was again a socio-economic experiment of historic importance that Sir Calix George adequately explains in this book. So if I could ask each of you in 30 seconds to give our final remarks, starting with you, Mr. Albert. Only 30 seconds down the line.
Well, quickly I want to say, Patrice mentioned that every house within the Roseau Valley should have one of these books, and most especially those persons in the diaspora. Moi je voulais dire pour qui dat qui tout Jean Valley Roseau, ça qui style Valley à ça qui l'autre pays, tout le monde fait qui assurer dat que on a copie livre ça kayo.
Primus,
I think this initiative is timely, considering the custodians of our oral tradition have dwindled. I mean, most of them have passed. And if we had to say, at least take another 2 or 3 years, then this project would have been really a tall hill to climb. And so we are very pleased that we were able to put this and make it a reality. And of course, we're hoping that we will get the full support of the people, not only of the Roseau Valley, but St. Lucia on the whole, and those in the diaspora. So nous encourageons tout le monde pour bonne support. Et après samedi, nous nigo cérémonie ça là, qui nous a ça montré plus, et nous a servi médias, et eux qui là pour assister nous, pour faire ça en réalité. Encore nous pour remercier Mr. Francis Leonce pour tout effort qu'il fait.
You have the final word, Patrice.
I just want to encourage everyone to get yourself a copy. There are quite some interesting stories in there, stories that I didn't know about, that I have loved. It is rich with culture, tradition, rituals. There is so much to learn. I want to encourage the parents to encourage their children to read. We're coming at a time where social media has taken over and persons not encouraged to read, but I want to encourage the young ones coming up to read and also to record and document your stories so that we may share with others out there.
And with that invitation to read, write and share our own stories, moi c'est Olbouske qui a dit merci pour toutes les autres présentateurs ici, avec PGAS, avec NTN, pour assister nous pour le programme aujourd'hui à côté, nous avons célébré côté Libre Sala, qui est toute l'histoire Valet Roseau, Valet Jean Roseau, Kai Lunch en distillerie là, samedi après-midi à 3h. Until then, thanks for viewing and get your copy.